When you first asked me to be involved and asked me to reflect on what kind of waste I use, the first thing that came to mind were my journals and paper.
This is the offshoot of everything, mostly that I eat, but also what I read and some of what I consume.
So as a playwright, I prefer to work first drafts by writing freehand. Then as I type a script up, I'll have to print several drafts to edit. I absolutely love trees, and yet I annihilate thousands of them creating an art or a play that works.
The recycling, which I so diligently do, turns out I don't really do it. I was entirely unaware of how little of what I recycle actually gets recycled, that probably a majority of it just gets burned or destroyed in the same way as normal rubbish.
Having to lie within it and realizing how much there was, it's this cognitive dissonance where you know something that you are doing is not the best for the environment that you love. In Australia, we talk about the environment, we've talked about climate change, since I was very young, and I remember coming to Ireland, and it's so beautiful and so green that I think the environment isn't valued as much.
It's made me more conscious of what kind of packaging I'm going to be left with, from can I just get away with putting that in the recycling bin and assuming then that that's fine, to do I really think a machine in a recycling plant will accept this, or will it send it to the fire?
And if we go down to Dunleary, you can see from the pier the plumes of smoke coming out of the incinerators going all over Dublin.
I work in an office and in an accountancy practice. We produce a significant amount of paper waste, which is shredded. Now I believe that it may not be the case that shredded paper can actually be recycled, which is somewhat concerning.
I'm 34 weeks pregnant. Having a baby is another one of those cognitive dissonance things where you know that just by producing another human, inevitably you are going to be contributing to the waste that the world has to process.
I live in the city and I can see it from the bridges all the way right down to almost to O'Connell Street. On a clear day you can see smoke just looks like another cloud in the sky, but when you're aware of what that is.
In Australia we have a saying, reduce, reuse, repair, recycle. So much of that comes into my philosophy and my husband's philosophy of living, how we live. So I think that even though we are having a child, we'll hopefully instill these values with our child as well.
When you're back in your apartment and you're considering, will I clean this a bit more before I put it in the recycling, or will it do? If it's going to end up down in that, coming out of those pipes as smoke, maybe I'll put a little bit more elbow grease into cleaning it up.
You can try and minimize your impact as much as possible, but then also just by being alive, we are inevitably consuming and producing waste.